A medieval kitchen breathes in the half-light. Clay jars sit against a cool wall, their sides damp, beading with water. Inside, butter is firm. Milk is still sweet after 10 days. Herbs stay crisp. No plug, no wire, no hum. Now cut to today. A stainless steel fridge vibrates in the corner. The compressor kicks on. Plastic trays hold greens already wilting. A sour note escapes when the door opens. We trust the electric box, yet food spoils faster than we expect. So here's the question. How did unpowered clay keep food fresh for up to 14 days in hot climates, while our modern refrigerator often speeds decay? The answer begins with a simple force: evaporation. When water turns to vapor, it steals heat from whatever it touches. That heat loss lowers temperature. It is called phase change. No magic, just physics. I will show you the real science, I will cite real studies, and we will test the claims. Picture the contrast. Damp earth scent rising from porous clay. Silence, and no mechanical pulse, a steady coolness created by slow water loss. Now compare that to plastic bins trapping moisture. A fan cycling cold air unevenly. The temperature swings each time the door opens. Cold shocks, warm surges, tiny stresses that bacteria love. Is modern always better? Or did we trade resilience for convenience? The stakes are not romantic, they are practical. The United Nations estimates roughly 1/3 of food is lost or wasted globally. Refrigeration uses about 20% of global electricity in buildings, according to the International Energy Agency. When power fails, food safety collapses fast. The USDA warns that perishable food held above 4 degrees Celsius for over 2 hours enters the danger zone for pathogen growth. Tonight we travel back to medieval kitchens, then forward into the physics of evaporative cooling. We examine who profits from constant upgrades. We expose blind spots in the appliance industry, and I will give you simple clay methods you can build for under the cost of a grocery run. Before we begin, answer me. Have you noticed your greens rot faster in the crisper? Comment yes or no. This is not nostalgia. It is leverage. By the end, you will have low-cost experiments to try this week. Long before wires crossed cities, cooling came from earth and air. In ancient Egypt, porous clay jars held water that stayed noticeably cooler than the desert heat. Your wall paintings show storage vessels tucked into shaded corners. In Persia, engineers built wind catchers that funneled dry air across wet surfaces, amplifying evaporation. In the Indian subcontinent, the matka, an unglazed clay pot, kept drinking water fresh through brutal summers. In West Africa, the zir pot used one clay pot nested inside another, with wet sand between them. No fuel, no moving parts, just phase change. Medieval Europe followed the same logic. Castles and farmhouses built cool larders on the north side of structures. Thick stone walls buffered heat. Shelves lined with earthenware slowed spoilage. Clay crocks held milk and butter. Root cellars extended the principle underground. Different cultures. Same material. Same physics. Why did this work best in certain places? Climate. Evaporation is strongest in hot, dry air. When humidity is low, water molecules escape quickly, pulling heat from the vessel. Shade prevents direct solar gain, and airflow carries vapor away, so cooling continues. Architecture mattered. Windows were placed to create cross breezes. Courtyards funneled wind. Storage was intentional design, not an afterthought. Modern extension services still teach this. The University of Arizona Cooperative Extension explains that evaporative coolers can drop temperatures significantly in arid climates through latent heat loss. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations recommends zero-energy cool chambers for small farmers, especially where electricity is unreliable. These systems rely on wet sand, porous brick, and ventilation. The principle has not changed in 3,000 years. What about real storage times? Under hot ambient conditions above 30 degrees Celsius, tomatoes may soften within 2 to 3 days. In a well-managed evaporative chamber, studies report extension to around 7 to 10 days, and depending on airflow and humidity. Cucumbers that shrivel in 4 days of dry heat can last over a week when kept cool and moist. Leafy greens, the most fragile, often double their shelf life compared to open-air markets. Not indefinite, just longer. Predictably longer, and this knowledge was shared. Markets did not restock daily with refrigerated trucks. Families learned when to harvest. Vendors shaded produce with damp cloth. Cooling was a skill, not a subscription. Preservation belonged to the community, not a corporation. There were limits. High humidity weakens evaporation. In coastal or monsoon climates, temperature drops are modest. This is not folklore. It is thermodynamics. When air is already saturated, fewer water molecules can escape. Cooling slows. Before electricity, some regions cut winter ice and stored it in insulated ice houses packed with straw. A natural ice trade even supplied cities in the 19th century. Yet clay and airflow remain cheaper and more accessible for most people. So what is happening inside that simple wall of earth that makes it so dependable? Cooling by clay was never random. It depended on skilled hands. Potters controlled the outcome. They chose coarse or fine clay to set porosity. They adjusted wall thickness to balance seepage with strength. Too dense, and water could not migrate. Too porous, and the vessel weakened. Glaze was used carefully. A fully glazed pot would block evaporation. An unglazed surface allowed moisture to travel outward. Craft determined performance. Farmers understood placement. Market women knew airflow patterns in a courtyard. They taught each other where to set jars, never in direct sun, always where a breeze could pass. They passed down rules about damp cloth covers and daily re-wetting. No manuals. Just repetition and memory. Knowledge moved through families and stalls. Now compare that to today's structure. Appliance manufacturers define our baseline. Energy utilities benefit from continuous load. Retail supply chains are engineered around centralized cold storage and long-distance transport. Food moves hundreds or thousands of miles inside refrigerated trucks and warehouses. The system assumes electricity at every step. The US Department of Energy reports that refrigeration accounts for a significant share of household electricity use, often around 7% in American homes. That is one appliance, running day and night for years. Companies innovate within that frame. More sensors, touchscreens, Wi-Fi modules, ice dispensers, smart diagnostics. Each feature adds complexity. Each upgrade encourages replacement. Planned obsolescence is rarely announced openly, yet product lifespans have shortened compared to older, simpler models. Repair becomes harder. Parts are proprietary. Service costs rise. Consumers replace instead of fix. Contrast that with a clay pot. No circuit board, no firmware update. If it cracks, a local artisan can make another. Why does this matter? Incentives. Utilities earn by selling kilowatt hours. Manufacturers earn by selling units and add-ons. Retailers earn from volume and speed. Teaching people how to cool with evaporation does not fit neatly into that chain. This is not a hidden cabal. It is economics. It is a habit. When a solution depends on continuous power, industries align around maintaining that demand. When a method requires only water, airflow, and material skill, profit margins shrink. Meanwhile, centralized cold chains shape what farmers grow and how they harvest. Produce is bred for transport durability, not flavor or local resilience. Storage happens far from the field. Control shifts upward. So the question becomes practical, not ideological. If a simple porous wall can create measurable cooling without fuel, what exactly is happening at the microscopic level? Let's open the clay jar and examine the mechanism. Open the jar, look at the wall. Water sits inside microscopic pores. It moves slowly toward the outer surface. When it reaches air, it changes state. Liquid becomes vapor. That shift requires energy. You're about 2,260 kilojoules per kilogram, according to standard thermodynamic data. The water pulls that energy from the clay itself. Heat leaves the vessel. The surface cools. Airflow matters next. If vapor lingers, evaporation slows. A breeze carries it away. Fresh, drier air replaces it. The cycle continues. Seep, evaporate, cool, repeat. No switch, no motor. Field reports from university extension programs document temperature drops between 5 and 15 degrees Celsius, below ambient in hot, dry, breezy conditions. That range depends on humidity and wind speed. The drier the air, the stronger the effect. Inside the vessel, a stable microclimate forms. There is no door swinging open every hour. No blast of warm kitchen air rushing in. The temperature changes gradually. That stability matters, and many spoilage microbes multiply faster as temperatures rise above 5 degrees Celsius. The US Food and Drug Administration defines 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius as the danger zone for rapid bacterial growth. Lower and steady temperatures slow reproduction. Now consider the compressor refrigerator. It cycles on and off. When it cools, moisture in the air condenses on coils. When the door opens, warm, humid air enters. That moisture later condenses on food surfaces. Small droplets form. Wet surfaces encourage decay organisms. The internal humidity shifts repeatedly. Vegetables experience cold shocks, then brief warming. Produce is alive after harvest. It respires. It consumes oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. Warmer temperatures increase respiration rates. Faster respiration means quicker softening and nutrient loss. Ethylene gas, a natural plant hormone, accelerates ripening in sensitive crops like leafy greens and cucumbers. Cooling slows these processes. According to post-harvest physiology research published by the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, each 10 degrees Celsius drop can significantly reduce respiration speed. Clay systems also manage humidity differently. The evaporating water raises relative humidity inside the chamber. High humidity reduces wilting and weight loss in vegetables. Yet because moisture diffuses through porous walls, liquid water does not bead on the produce surface. That balance, cool air with elevated humidity, protects texture without creating slick condensation. There are limits. Evaporative coolers rarely reach the 0 to 4 degrees Celsius range needed for raw meat or fresh milk safety. They are suited for tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, leafy greens, butter, and certain aged cheeses. Food safety still requires judgment. So if the physics is straightforward and the biology is clear, why does your fridge sometimes seem to rot food instead of preserving it? Electric refrigeration changed cities. In the early 20th century, mechanical fridges replaced iceboxes. Urban milk supplies became safer. Meat could travel farther. Cases of foodborne illness dropped as cold storage expanded. Public health improved. That progress is real. Then the cold chain stretched across continents. Refrigerated rail cars, insulated trucks, massive warehouses, supermarkets filled with out-of-season fruit, diets diversified, distance stopped mattering. But every system carries weight. Household refrigerators run continuously. Grid demand rises with each unit. According to the US Environmental Protection Agency, hydrofluorocarbons used in many cooling systems are potent greenhouse gases, with global warming potentials hundreds to thousands of times greater than carbon dioxide. Leaks during manufacturing, use, or disposal add to climate pressure. Newer standards aim to reduce this, yet legacy systems remain widespread. Inside the kitchen, and the smaller problems grow quietly. The crisper drawer promises freshness. Marketing implies protection. In practice, poor airflow and overpacking trap moisture. Ethylene-sensitive crops sit beside ethylene producers. Condensation forms on plastic walls. Greens suffocate under tight lids. Users rarely adjust humidity sliders correctly. Few manuals explain respiration rates or gas exchange. Meanwhile, the United States Department of Agriculture estimates that between 30 and 40% of the food supply is wasted. A significant portion happens at the household level. Forgotten produce, premature spoilage, confusion about storage. Advertising rarely addresses these mechanics. Brochures highlight cubic feet, stainless finishes, touch panels, Wi-Fi alerts. Education about airflow patterns or produce grouping is minimal. The device is sold as complete. The responsibility quietly shifts to the user. This is not a hidden conspiracy. It is scale bias. Large systems favor centralized solutions. Simpler alternatives receive little investment because they generate little recurring revenue. Clay cooling does not fit subscription models. It does not require firmware updates. Now imagine a different scenario. A summer blackout lasts 7 days. The grid fails after a storm. Your refrigerator warms within hours. The FDA advises discarding perishable food left above 4 degrees Celsius for extended periods. Meat spoils first. Dairy follows. Vegetables soften rapidly in trapped heat. Next door, a household using a shaded, ventilated clay chamber keeps tomatoes firm and greens crisp for several extra days. Not frozen, not ice cold, just stable and cool enough to delay loss. Resilience is not dramatic, it is a quiet extension of time. So where does that leave us today? What practical steps can you take without rejecting modern life entirely? Energy prices are climbing in many regions. Refrigerators run every hour of the year. The US Department of Energy lists refrigeration among the larger constant loads in a typical home. It does not spike once. It hums forever. When rates rise, that steady draw becomes expensive. Food waste adds another layer. The Environmental Protection Agency reports that landfilled food is a major source of methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. When we throw away spoiled produce, we waste the water, labour, fuel and fertiliser behind it. Then it decomposes and releases gas. Loss compounds loss. In hot, dry regions today, evaporative cooling has not disappeared. NGOs and agricultural extension programs still promote zero-energy cool chambers for small farms. These systems help vendors keep tomatoes, eggplants, and leafy greens marketable longer without diesel generators. Reduced post-harvest loss means more income stays with growers. Health matters here too. Many spoilage microbes multiply faster as temperature rises. Keeping produce cooler and steady slows their growth. This is not about sterilizing food. It is about delaying the conditions that let bacteria and molds surge. Stability protects quality. Development case studies from parts of India and sub-Saharan Africa show measurable drops in post-harvest losses after farmers adopted low-cost evaporative storage, less shrinkage, fewer distressed sales, more predictable supply, small infrastructure, tangible impact. Now let's bring this into your kitchen. First, separate ethylene producers from sensitive crops. Apples, bananas, and tomatoes release ethylene. Leafy greens and cucumbers respond by aging faster. Store them apart. Second, improve airflow. Do not overpack shelves. Leave space for circulation. Third, limit door openings. Decide what you need before you pull the handle. Fourth, check the temperature with a simple fridge thermometer. Aim for around 4 degrees Celsius for general storage. If you live in a dry climate, try a clay pot cooler. Place a smaller unglazed pot inside a larger one. Fill the gap with clean sand. Saturate the sand with water. Cover the top with a damp cloth. Set the system in shade with cross breeze. Re-wet daily. Measure inside temperature with a thermometer. Compare it to room air. Test shelf life of tomatoes or greens. Then report back. What did you observe? Share your numbers in the comments. Here is the truth. Medieval clay did not defeat physics. It cooperated with it. It used evaporation, airflow, and shade exactly as nature designed them. No spectacle, just alignment. Modern refrigerators are not villains. They are powerful tools. They protect meat. They secure medicine. They enable dense cities. The problem is not cold air. The problem is blind use, poor design habits, and zero education about how food actually breathes. Ancient systems offered resilience. They required attention and placement. Modern systems offer convenience. They require electricity and constant uptime. One fails slowly, the other fails fast. Strength versus dependency. Skill versus assumption. So ask yourself, what else have we dismissed because it looks simple? What other low-cost methods work quietly with natural forces instead of overpowering them? Here is what you can do. First, optimize what you already own. Set your fridge to around 4 degrees Celsius. Leave space between items. Separate ethylene producers from sensitive vegetables. Use a thermometer. Reduce random door openings. Second, if your climate allows, build a clay pot cooler for produce. 2 unglazed pots. Sand between them. Water. Shade. Airflow. Measure the internal temperature daily. Third, track your food waste for 30 days. Write it down. Notice patterns. Adjust storage. Test again. These are small experiments. They cost little. They shift you from passive buyer to active steward. If you are willing to test clay cooling this week, comment clay below. If someone you know struggles with spoiled produce or rising grocery bills, share this video with them. Knowledge is preservation of food, of money, of independence,